Critic, you don't understand the conflict within me. Should I not go back and do Raiders of the Story arc? Just send me a sign, and I will finish what you started.
Hello, I am not the Nostalgia Critic, but I'm a big fan, and we all love the Nostalgia Critic. He's great. He brings us back to our grown-up years and reminds us of all the things we love. So for Christmas, I thought, wouldn't it be great if we did something for him? Like, give him a break. Let him sit back and watch his own review for a change, instead of having to make them all. So with that being said, I'm bringing back Raiders of the Story. We all remember the tropes of the high school 80s teen movie.
What are you looking at, butthead?
Of course, you had the bullies.
Here's the bottom line, Wyatt.
The football. The part-time job. And of course, the professor who got on everybody's nerves.
What are you people? On dope?
But as a kid growing up, I didn't get to enjoy a lot of these movies because we were too young. This was the 80s, and a lot of these movies had nudity in it, which was kind of unheard of at the time. But now we look back and we think, oh yeah, no problem. But as kids, especially kids growing up, we couldn't enjoy these movies. Well, enter Galaxy High.
Kyle was a high school star. Everybody thought he'd go real far, but he didn't get a thing from the classes he took.
If you grew up enjoying Galaxy High, then you know this theme song. It is so catchy. I just recently watched Galaxy High again after 20 years, and as soon as I heard this theme song, I remembered getting up in the morning, getting my cereal, and sitting down to watch Galaxy High. There's just one part to this song I felt was a little strange.
Traveling millions of miles through space to go to school in a far out place. Amy is the sweetheart. Doyle's got a lot to learn here.
Did you hear that? Let me play that again.
Amy is the sweetheart. Doyle's got a lot to learn.
Sweetheart, learn. Sweetheart, learn. No, I don't see a rhyme there. It's really weird because the whole rest of the song rhymes. Listen to this part again. Just the last line before this line. It rhymes.
Traveling millions of miles through space to go to school in a far out place.
It's like someone said, "Come on, Bob. Columbus wants that song, right now." And he suddenly went, "Oh, okay. Sweetheart, learn. Great. Here, he can have it. Now, quick, go. Take it." It's just really weird to me. And speaking of Columbus. Chris Columbus. Why does that name sound so familiar to me? No, not that Columbus. Oh, that Columbus. And unfortunately, that Columbus. Sorry, critic. But I'm here to talk about this Columbus. So let's get started. So because the first episode is a pilot, we get our introduction to a lot of characters in this first episode, starting with Amy and Doyle. Both of them, this is their first year going to Galaxy High, and they're a little both nervous themselves.
Following you around.
One thing I'll say about Amy is the first time I saw her, I confused that voice with Rogue from X-Men. But then I looked it up, and it turns out she's not Rogue. She's actually Mrs. Feathersby from DuckTales. Ooh, that's a killjoy. Anyway, moving on. Galaxy High had a lot of really cool concepts for its time. The idea of this futuristic school where you could whoosh and buzz through tubes just to get to class. It was such a cool idea to watch that every episode you get to see a new piece of this school, and you'd be like, oh, I'd love to go to this school. This looks like a blast. And it's just there. They never really explain a lot of this stuff or its history. They do in one episode later on, but in the pilot, you just you're along for the ride. And especially when you meet all these new characters. The first character they end up meeting is Milo, who's sort of the stereotypical, book nerd with his lovely bow tie. And one of the cool things about him, though, is he's got 6 arms. Right away, you're seeing that these aren't going to be typical, like everyone's just going to look like a variation of a green-skinned earthling. All of these characters are unique in their own special way.
Hi, we haven't met. I'm Bowie Bubblehead. Who are you? Amy.
I don't know why, but one of my favorite characters is Bowie Bubblehead. There's something about, I just imagine people sitting around a table and going, let's make an airhead called Bowie Bubblehead whose brain is floating around in her head like a piece of gum. Just made you sit and think, like, what happens when she eats? Do her friends, get to see all her chewed up food floating around in her head? Little things like that. Then, of course, there was Gilda, Gossip, who, was also clever. She had all the mouths, and she could talk out of any which one she wanted to and knew all the gossip in school. Again, a lot of these characters, they felt like stereotypes, but as the show went on, they also sort of moved into their own. While every character was a clever concept, some of them kind of got on your nerves.
Your heart belongs to me. At night when you're asleep, into your spaceship I will creep.
Enter the creep. It was clever to have an idea of, this little alien that sings Frank Sinatra songs to get all the girls, but on another level, he's really just this creepy stalker. He comes around to Amy all the time, and he padlocks her and says, I'm going to stay around you all the time. And at some point, he never really goes beyond that. It just comes off kind of creepy. And they keep bringing him back for some reason. I mean, I just never quite understood what the creep was supposed to be around for. As Doyle gets desperate to make some popular friends, he makes the mistake of running across the school's resident bully, Beef Bonk and his gang. These guys are so interesting to me because of their designs. I mean, one guy's got a rotten egg on his head, another guy's a pile of sludge, and then Beef himself is like a giant chicken with hair coming out of him. Of course, he's got his catchphrase,
Earth stinks.
So why don't you make like a tree and get out of here?
Oh, yeah?
This does lead to a funny scene where Doyle gets turned into some French fries, but yeah, just roll with it. There are, of course, many other characters I'm leaving out here, such as the teaching staff, like Professor Eisenstein, or just the regular homeroom teacher, Ms. McBrain. It's funny that everybody in this show has a name that seems to fit who or what they are. It's a wonder they didn't name Doyle and Amy Sportsy Sam or Brainy Becca. Even inanimate objects are characters in this show. Amy gets this really nice, sweet locker that wants to help her and do everything for her.
Thanks.
And Doyle gets this, really nasty locker who hates having stuff put in him, won't take his gym clothes, and pretty much gives him a hard time almost all the time. It just goes to show you that, once again, in this school, anything's possible, and that kind of creative freedom really made for some interesting ideas that you hadn't really seen in high school stories before.
Ladies, relax, cool down. Now, I know you've never seen an Earth boy before, but relax. There's enough of me for everybody. Now,
speaking of Doyle, a lot of this first episode revolves around the interesting twist of Doyle being super popular back on Earth. But when he gets to Galaxy High, he's treated like he's nothing. And this plays out in a lot of scenes. I really kind of liked it going back and watching it again because it subverts your expectation that the jock character is going to always get the girl and always be on top, and the brainy girl is going to be picked on. No scene shows this better than when he's in Miss McBrain's classroom getting introduced for the first time.
you at our school.
Thank you,
Ms. McBrain, I'm Doyle Cleverlobe, and might I say that you are even more beautiful than I've heard.
And might I say that you have an awful lot to learn.
Looking back now, it's weird how all he did was introduce himself, and the teacher instantly, says, "Oh no, you suck," and the entire class laughs at him. This is further contrasted by when they treat Amy like she's just this amazing super student. And granted, she's smart, and she gets a lot of perks because of it, but Doyle was a sports superstar, and yet they treat him like crap. I mean, why did they choose him to come to Galaxy High?
Take a part-time job at Luigi's Lunar Pizza Parlor.
A part-time job? But why?
Because you suck balls, Doyle.
No scholarship?
Did you hear that, folks? He wants a scholarship with those grades.
Now, don't get me wrong. I get that he's not the best student in the world. And Ms. McBrain even says later on that Galaxy High is his last chance to graduate high school. But if that was the case, are you telling me that no high school would take Doyle with his sports ability?
This isn't fair.
But yeah, I get that it's a cartoon and I'm overthinking it. But still, this scene always just felt a little cruel to me. Like Chris Columbus got picked on by a bunch of jocks when he was a kid or something. Either way, it's still an entertaining scene overall, and it sets up nicely for Doyle having to prove himself throughout the rest of the episode. And this leads into the end of the episode where, after picking another fight with Beef Bonk over Amy, who's now gone from nerd to supermodel, Beef Bonk challenges Doyle to a game of what they call Zuggleball, which is essentially a space version of Quidditch from Harry Potter. But of course we didn't have Harry Potter at the time, so this was another sport that we looked at and went, wow, this is kind of cool. As you might imagine, well, I won't spoil the end of the episode, but Doyle does indeed prove himself.
One of these days I'm gonna get that Earth back.
I'm gonna get that son of a bitch.
And episode 1 ends. In the second episode, The Beef Who Would Be King, the show finally slows down a bit and gives us a chance to settle in with just a few characters at a time. You can understand in the pilot why this wasn't possible, because it really felt like they were pitching something completely new and different to try and get a full season. Well, now they have a full season, so they can spend a little time getting to know certain characters. This episode primarily focuses on, as the title says, Beef, and Beef's continuing feud with Doyle.
You're doing up there? One of Beef's practical jokes.
This episode introduces another trope of the 1980s teen movie. The student feud, where one student tries to one-up the other, and it goes throughout the entire movie.
You did this, Doyle!
You just got your asses whipped by a bunch of goddamn nerds. Nerds!
One of Beef's pranks leads to one of the more funny and disturbing parts of this episode.
Set fire to those clothes. You're right. I'm drawing flies. That wasn't a fly. It was a student. Harold Horsefly. You're kidding. What have I done? When will I ever get used to this school? Where's my locker?
Wait. Did he just kill a student? No, it's a cartoon. Of course, it's a joke. He slapped him around and, Horsefly is perfectly fine.
Milo Davinas?
Here.
Gilda Gossip?
Here, and I've got a story about Wendy Garbo.
Earl Ich?
Yo!
And Harold Horsefly. Harold? Has anyone seen Harold?
Maybe Coach Frogface ate it. Yuck, yuck, yuck.
Okay, Horace is dead. Was nice knowing you, Horace. I mean, only in Galaxy High could you get away with a joke like that. I mean, imagine if that was like a real-life joke. Good morning, Joe. Oh! Oops. Anyway, as far as the rest of the episode, the plot revolves around Beef being recognized by a group of aliens from the planet Cholesterol. We find out that the Cholesterolians have chosen Beef as their new leader. This, of course, gets Doyle upset. It's only later that we find out why Doyle can't be top banana and why the job's not at all crackered up to be. Sorry, this episode is full of bad food puns.
Get our new big cheese.
The proof is in the pudding.
Anyway, they decide to resolve the matter of who should be leader of the Cholesterolians with a race. Beef wins the race by cheating, but it turns out that's exactly what the Cholesterolians are looking for.
See you later, cackalax.
Something about the whole thing doesn't sit right with Doyle, and after talking to Professor Eisenstein, they find out that Beef is actually being fattened up to be served up as dinner.
Come again?
They eat the guy.
It actually makes a lot of sense when you think about it. If you're gonna eat someone, why not eat the worst rotten person in the entire universe? I mean, who's gonna miss him?
Aw, poor Beef. We've got to do something.
Let's send barbecue sauce.
So, Amy sends Doyle to go get Beef back. Doyle goes, and the episode ends about as you'd expect it to end. And this ends episode 2. So, does Galaxy High actually hold up? Well, I'd say for the most part, yes. When you look at the kinds of cartoons that are being shown on Saturday morning now, everyone with a blatant message about being good to other people and, everyone's gotta share and get along. There's nothing wrong with that, but Galaxy High still had those messages. It just hid them behind an interesting curtain of real high school problems that a lot of kids were seeing their older brothers and sisters deal with, but didn't really understand. This show gave them a chance to experience a lot of that for themselves, and the humor was quite witty at times. Some characters didn't really quite work out as well as the writers hoped they would, but overall, the series was quite a good success. I definitely recommend it if you haven't had a chance to see it. I'm not the Nostalgia Critic, but he's awesome. Go watch him. Have a great Christmas, Critic.